Alright, so to create the console application that shows the JWT token using C Sharp, firstly we're going to go to a Visual Studio, and then we're going to create a new project. We're going to create a new console application. I've named mine JWT Basic Authentication Token Bearer, and I'm going to add the three class files that were included in the assignment package, which then I'm going to proceed. This is the header.cs. As you can see, the basic namespace here has it as a model. So I put all three into a models folder. So the application sees this as the three models that will be running. And just looking through the included code here, we see here it's going to create the hash string and the serializer. So the key thing here is that it's going to create the initial security key for us, which is going to be the base 64 string. Once we have those three class files set up properly, just to ensure that we have no code, see here that there are no issues found. If we have it set up correctly, we shouldn't have any issues. And then we're going to use the code to generate on the program.cs this particular code here, which is string convert to base 64. So you have to create this by clicking on the project and then adding a new item, and then you choose the application configuration file. This is the key that was generated. I have now added it as my security key. And moving along, once we have that done, if we go back to program.cs, we're going to have a couple of things that we need to set up, particularly as concerning this particular one, your configuration manager. So you're going to have to go to NuGet package manager, and then you're going to have to install the system configuration manager, which I've already done, which is why you see at the top here that we have using system configuration. All right. And now once that is done and we don't have any issues, we run the code. And after we run the code, it's going to generate the token for us. So I already have this included in my PowerPoint slide, but just to demonstrate it again, I'm going to run the code and see the build has started. It's loading up now. As you can see here, this is the new security key that is generated, and this is the token that is generated. So I'm going to take this generated token and I'm going to go to jwt.io. So I've come to jwt.io, and as you can see, first thing I did was I impute my new security key in here by removing what was here, and then I came in here to remove what was here before, and I pasted in my token. And as you can see, if I zoom in, payload shows my data that has been decrypted, and that is the key that I imputed. All right, and this concludes part one. So moving on to part two, where we've been asked to create an ASP.NET .NET Core web application to demonstrate the JWT token based authentication using the slides from the class. As you can see, I have created this project JWT auth_token bearer. And I have gone ahead to follow the steps in the classroom as listed. So I started by going to create the project, and if we just run it while it's empty, we would see an XML schema that shows the weather forecast updates. I'm not going to show that for the sake of time. We're going to set up our settings in appsettings.json. There's my mouse here. Okay, yeah, so which is, let's scroll to the side here. Let me see. It's appsettings.json. Alright, so this is appsettings.json. As we highlighted, the key for encryption is going to be created with app settings right here. Let's go to appsettings.cs, which I have set up as well. This is the key as well here, string key. Just trying to highlight. And startup.cs, where is my startup? Alright, so a lot of namespaces being called here. So this is my startup. As you can see, everything looks good here in my code. I believe this is where I had to install JWT. Uh, so in order to do that, to use the JWT authentication, I tried to install the latest version, but it wouldn't work. So I ended up using the previous version, I think 3.19, before I was finally able to get it to work. Apparently, the latest version I think is set for uh, .NET Core 5.0, and I'm using .NET Core 3.1. I think. I hope I got that right. Alright, so these are my controllers. Everything looks great. As you can see, app settings is where it's getting most of the information from, and then it's going to encrypt that. My ATL, my routing, my authorization, everything is set in place, and I have determined how this is going to be used. If it needs to validate the issuer or validate the audience, I've said it's going to issue a new security key, and it needs to validate that sign-in key. Right? So that's startup.cs, and then going to weather forecast controller.cs. So I think I had it open in a bit, but I think I can only show okay, just here. So here it's where it authorizes to get the schemes from GWT Bearer as defaults, the authentication from GWT Bearer, and this is my controller, the public cast weather forecast controller base. These are a few of the information that I wanted to show. Alright, so here it says just add a description to what the weather is based on the conditions. That's what is here. It's going to be facing bracing chilly cold. Yeah, and if I run this, so originally when you run this, I'm going to pause the video here to save time. So when I run the code, I'm going to have a 401 error telling me that the page isn't running. Then I'm going to go and set up the following files. So I'm going to set up student.cs as one of my models. As you can see, it's going to get a couple of the parameters to add the students. I'm going to set up authenticate service.cs, which is a service that's going to use the JWT token bearer models and the iAuthenticate service. As you can see, I've included my details. I'm going to go ahead and set up the iAuthenticate services. So this is actually authenticate service model, and iAuthenticate services is a service that's set up. So it's going to authenticate the student's string username and string password, and the final controller for authentication controller, which is going to authenticate the values as well. So once that is done, I'm going to run the code, and I'm going to copy the localhost URL created. It's still going to show me the 401 error. I'm going to come to Postman. And in Postman, I'm going to set up my collection. I've set up BDAT1001 and then I'm going to set up my request. So I set up a GET request. I'm going to paste in, I'm going to select GET, and then I'm going to paste in the weather forecast URL. And when I send this, it's going to give me a 403 error initially, a 401 unauthorized error. And then I'm going to create a new tab using the same URL, but I'm going to remove weather forecast. I'm going to set it to show me the authentication protocols. And then I'm going to impute under body using raw and selecting JSON. Obviously, I'm going to use my username, which I set up in my app settings, and the password that I have there. And then I'm going to send it. So it's going to give me a token. As you can see, my student name and username password. So this is a generated token based on that information. I'm going to copy this token and I'm going to go back to get. And when I get to get, I'm going to go under where am I currently now? Where was it? So I'm going to go and include that. I'm going to select under authorization here type, which is going to be bearer token, and I'm going to paste in my token in here. And then when I run the get for the weather forecast URL, it's going to bring out the results, which is pretty much what we're trying to get with it properly aligned. So this is the information for weather forecast. Right, and that's, I believe that everything that I need to do is done. Thank you.